I think we aren't very effective communicators because we don't really say what we want and need.
And do you think that's always been that throughout history? Do you think that's our culture right now? Do you think it's human nature?
Marshall Rosenberg, who kind of comes up with the core concept. So the thorn idea is an idea that I cultivated myself, but it's really rooted in Marshall Rosenberg's work, nonviolent communication. And when the new CEO of Microsoft came out, it was really interesting to hear that he gave his managers Marshall Rosenberg's book, Nonviolent Communication, as their first gift in their first meeting, saying, "I need all my managers in the whole company to read this book," because he realized the value in the level of communication builds the relationship. Right? So do I think Marshall Rosenberg is the creator of this whole nonviolent communication thing? It appears in other models as well. He claims that, thousands of years ago, we didn't communicate that way. I'm not sure. I haven't really dug into that. I just know that in the here and the now, and as far back as I can read, any books that I read, they're all there. The violent expressions are there. So for us, it's real right now. So I would say, it's been there for a long time.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a sheet that shows all the different emotions you can feel, your unmet needs. I'm not going to carry a sheet around in my back pocket, so I want to go put this into practice tomorrow. So I get into work, and one of the guys that, say someone works for me, isn't doing what they want him to do. And it's making me think they're dumb. That's what I'm feeling. How do I communicate to them in a way that does not make them, that I'm not throwing a thorn, but that I can actually communicate my unmet need of what's not getting done. So that's one specific example, but how do you start learning this without having a sheet in front of you?
Okay, so I got two answers. My first answer is there's no silver bullet. I know we're in a pill society, but there is no magic pill. You can just take and learn this. To get the degree, you got to go to school. So that's a part of it. There is going to be some learning that happens. I hate to say it, but that is a part of it. So you don't have to have it in your back pocket, but do that day later thing then. Go home later and have a sheet somewhere. I know people hang it on their fridge or they have it in their office, and then they go back and they look down at it and they're like, wow, that was pretty intense. And this is kind of what I was feeling, probably because of this unmet need. So I have a little sheet. It's called what I call it, the shift game that we do. And it's just a little sheet that allows you to do that. So some of that, you don't have to do it right there in the moment. So the second answer that I have for you to be able to do it in the moment is there's a really cool thing that I've learned with kids, and it's quite well known as well, is that when you go up to a kid who's just really angry and throwing teddy bears around or chairs or whatever it is, and you come in there and you tell them to stop it, you're basically pushing force against force, and you're going to have an argument. There's going to be some kind of an altercation, or they're going to feel like they were put down or something. But when I walk in there and I say, "You're really sad, aren't you?" the child will correct me if I nailed the wrong emotion. So if I come in there and I say, "What are you? What are you feeling?" And they'll say, "I don't know." But if I say, "You're sad," they'll say, "No, I'm angry." Like they'll fix our mistakes. So it's almost like they give you credit for trying. And that's the same thing with adults. So if I say, this is making me anxious, or I'm feeling really sad right now, it doesn't mean you have to have the right feeling. But the fact that you're trying already is getting you in the right direction. There's a really cool concept by Dr. Dan Siegel. He writes a book called The Whole Brain Child. And he has a concept called name it to tame it. And this is fascinating research. I just love some of this research. The idea is that when I'm angry and I name the feeling, it immediately the cortisol or the adrenaline calms down, the anger calms down, the sadness calms down. So when I can name an emotion, it automatically calms down. It's almost like your body says, you got this, because you know what it is.
Okay.
So that's really step one, is start trying to name our own feelings and emotions. And again, not mushy, just this has me really angry. Even say, I'm really angry right now.
Yeah.
That already has both a sociological, like a physiological aspect to it, but also it's that self-awareness that starts building. So as to get really practical, one piece of advice, that's if you said one thing that I could do to start, that's where you start. Is that when you have a feeling, start noticing that feeling and eventually try to give it a name.
Yeah.
So, and I've even I worked mostly with adults as well, but I've worked with kids who don't yet have names for some of their feelings, so they just give them a name, just any old name. call it thunder, volcano, whatever it
Yeah.
is, and then we start working with that. But anyway.
So what do I gain if I am able to implement this in my life? Because we're naturally selfish people, and you think of this concept, you're like, okay, if I do this, I'm just going to help the people around me, and I won't gain from this. How do you personally gain from this if you're able to implement this well? Because there's people that have been very successful that don't do this at all.
Let's define success.
Fair enough, but like, so the heads of big companies that are very
Financially successful.
Yes. Okay.
But I'm not. I have no ability to judge their emotional lives or their social lives.
Fair enough.
But so I would never personally try to equate financial success or even political success or any type of success to whether they are living a fulfilling life. So that's where my quick answer to that answer is a much more fulfilling life.
Okay.
Because you know what's triggering you and what's not.
Yeah.
And you then have the ability to say something's not right here. So